Hey, this is Megan from Golden Spiral Tarot. Today I'm going to be talking about days 4 through 7 of Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot of 2018. So the first prompt for day 4, and I actually talked a little bit about this prompt on my Instagram feed, but it didn't turn out quite like I wanted. I was experimenting with Instagram Live and it just didn't quite work out. So I'm going to review that today. And that prompt was top 5 tarot books of 2017. So I'm going to start with Bridget Esselmont's from Biddy Tarot's The Ultimate Guide to Tarot Card Meetings. And this one just came out. It was really good. I pre-ordered it. I really like how it's organized. I think it would have been something that would have been really useful when I was starting to learn. I love how it has the keywords, it has quotes, a general description of the picture. It's all based on the Smith Waite deck, but also breaks it down really well. So you have general readings, you have career, work and finances, personality types, relationships and love, spirituality, well-being and health, but I think the best feature of this is the suggested card combinations. So I think when you're reading tarot, of course you can pick out one card and get some good feedback and information from it, and insights from it, but I think it's a lot more useful or a lot more clear if you have other cards around it to kind of develop a story and some more context about that meaning. So I really love the suggested card combinations in this little reference book here. Really nice. It just goes through how you can kind of read whatever card with another card and kind of gives you some context and some things to think about when you see those cards within a reading. So I think that's really helpful and useful. So this is a really good one to have whether you've been reading for a couple years or are just starting out. The next book, and I think I can use this, it's technically a workbook or a journal. This is Willow's East Intuitive Journal, and it's by Gretchen Pearl, and she's from willowseast.com, and it's really great. It goes through a weekly draw, a daily draw, and you can put your interpretations, then it has a section at the end for you to reflect on each week. It also has a section for monthly draws and yearly draws, so it's a really great way of developing a tarot routine. And you can use it with oracle cards as well, so it's really versatile. So whatever cards you're using, this is a great journal to get into a daily practice of reading tarot. So that one's really lovely. I like this. The next one I have a digital copy of, so I don't have an example of it to show you, but that is Rachel Pollack's Tarot Wisdom. And that one actually came out fairly recently, I think, and I know it's kind of weird that I read that before I read this one, 78 Degrees of Wisdom. So backtracking just a little bit, Tarot Wisdom is really great. It's by Rachel Pollack, like I mentioned. It goes a lot into the history and how the cards and their meanings have evolved over the years. So it's really interesting. It goes a lot into the esoteric background of each card. It talks about Kabbalah and correspondences and that sort of thing. So it's very dense. And so far, I just picked up, or finally got, I don't know how it took me so long. It's a little embarrassing it took me this long to get 78 Degrees of Wisdom, because I know for a lot of people it's their tarot Bible. So this came out a couple decades ago by Rachel Pollack, and it's a classic for a reason. It's really, really great. I'm only about a quarter of the way through, and so far I'm liking it better than the newer Tarot Wisdom so far. I'm not sure why. I think I'll have to think about that a little bit more. But this is just really dense and really great. And it's a little less about the history and more about her personal interpretations and meanings about the cards. So it does delve into correspondences and Kabbalah and different numerology and all that stuff as well. But so far I'm digging the way this is presented better. So this is a really good one for a reason. Let's see. The next book I want to talk about is also one I got as a Kindle book because I have very little patience. When I want to read a book, I want it right away. That's why Overdrive is so awesome, because I can get those library books. So that book is WTF is Tarot and How Do I Do It by Bakara Winter. And that book is just so great. I really wish it had come out earlier when I was first starting to learn tarot. It's a beautifully written book, so it's very literary and written really well, but it's very personable at the same time, which is great and approachable. She has great little anecdotes for each of the cards that are really raw and real, and you can definitely tell she's had a very personal experience and understanding of each of the archetypes of the card. So it's really enjoyable book to read. There was a few moments with her description of the court cards that I kind of disagreed with her. She had what I perceived as kind of a negative view on some of the court cards. I think particularly it was the Queen, there we go, I'll try to enunciate for you so you can actually hear me. The Queen of Swords, that she kind of had a negative view of, that I kind of disagreed with. But at the end of the day, I think that's important when you're studying tarot to be exposed to lots of different perspectives on the card. That can only enrich your experience as a reader by getting those new realizations and different interpretations. But I'm not quite sure I completely agree, but that's okay. Like I said, it's good to have those different perspectives on things. And then you kind of confront your own little biases, like, oh, I have this really soft spot for the Queen of Swords, why is that? And then you can do some kind of investigation of your own influences on the cards. And not to say one way is right or wrong, it's just more information. It's more knowledge that you can glean that will only help you be a better reader. So that one's really great. Did I get through all 5? Yes, I did. Okay, so that's prompts 4. I'm going to run through these real quick because I know I couldn't do these every day. I just wouldn't, and I would get too overwhelmed. So the next one I want to talk about is day 5, the card that stalked you in 2017. And I was looking through my notes, my journals, daily draws. I think that was Empress this year. That stalked me. The Empress is a really nice stalker. It's not too bad to have the Empress stalking you. The Empress for me is very much a card of self-care and self-worth. And pretty obviously, along with the archetypes of the Empress, is a very nurturing and motherly card. So I always get that card when I'm not quite taking care of myself like I should. So it could be I'm not getting enough time on my own to recharge and rest. I'm not forgiving myself enough or giving myself enough leeway when I'm expecting myself to be perfect, or I feel like I'm failing in some way. The Empress shows up to kind of knock some sense into me. Or if she shows up reversed, it's often I'm overindulging things, I'm overdoing things, I'm using coping strategies that maybe aren't quite the most helpful. And she's also a reminder for me to enjoy life and to get out and have a good time and to be with people and to experience life. Because especially when you're an introvert like me, that can be hard. And there's a very fine line between when I need to stay home and relax and recover and take care of myself, and also the moment where, no, I need to be out with people and experiencing life. So she kind of helps me find where that line is, and when I should be out and experiencing life, and when I should be taking the time just to be by myself and take care of my own needs. So she's a fun card to be stalked by. It's pretty interesting. I've already gotten some stalker cards already, one in particular, but for 2018, but I'll save that for another day. Let's see here. So we're just going to go ahead to prompt 6 for day 6. The deck you finally crossed off your wish list in 2017. So I mentioned this deck already. This is Tarot del Fuego by Ricardo. I want to say Michael for some reason. Ricardo Cavolo. And again, like I mentioned in my last video, it's just a gorgeous deck. The artist has a lot of influences from Mexican folk art and traditional American tattoos, which I love. And it's just a wonderful, beautiful, powerful, intense deck to read from. And the art is just amazing. Like, oh, Justice card. It's gorgeous. It's a really fun deck. And you can just get lost in the art. It's in the art. it's a really great tool to spark intuition as you read it, because the cards are so dense. They have so many layers that you can just peel like an onion, and there's still more layers left to go through. So this is a beautiful deck, and I'm glad I crossed this one off my wish list, and I'm definitely glad I did. It was a good purchase. So let's see here. What's the next one? The next one is 7, most worked deck in 2017 and why. So I have a huge collection, and there's usually several decks. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting this deck back in their box. They don't want to go back in. I have a lot of decks. It's kind of embarrassing how many decks I have, but I usually have a pretty normal rotation to how I use them. So I'll be bringing them in and out and reading with them depending on just my mood or who I'm reading for, or whatever the case may be. So it just depends. But if I had to pick one that I probably used the most in 2017, it would be the Centennial Edition of the Waite-Smith deck. And this is one I've been wanting to have for ages. Actually, my first deck was a universal mini pocket Rider-Waite, universal weight, I think is what it's called, and I've been wanting to get a full-size Waite-Smith deck. So this deck is beautiful. It's meant to, if I remember correctly, have the color scheme that Pamela Coleman Smith, the artist, intended. So you'll notice, you can see the backs are very lovely and pastel-y blue, but if you look at the actual cards, you'll notice that they aren't as starkly colored as some of other versions of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So they're just a little more subdued, a little more gentle. I think they're more aesthetically pleasing. I know a lot of people don't like when the yellow, there'll be some versions of this deck where the yellow is super stark and the colors are really almost grating, and I can totally understand that and why people would think that, but the Centennial Edition is great because it really has some beautiful subdued coloring that I think is a lot more approachable and aesthetic. So that's probably why, one of the reasons why I use this deck, because it was newer for me, but also I learned from the Rider-Waite-Smith, so it's just one that's always in rotation. I'm always using it, studying with it. It's kind of the basis of how I read other decks. I take what I know from the Rider-Waite-Smith and adapt it to whatever deck I'm reading. So I see the different takes that different artists have on a different deck, and then I'm able to use my study of the Waite-Smith deck to help enrich whatever deck I'm reading. So I kind of use that as the basis or foundation with that, just because I started with that deck and I started learning with that one first. So that's probably why I'm a little biased, but that's how I do it so far. So yeah, that's the most worked deck of 2017 for me. Let's see. Okay, so that brought me to 7. I'm caught up now. That was actually quicker than I expected. So before I close out, I want to thank you all for your lovely comments on my YouTube page. I love the tarot community because we're all so, for the most part, I'm sure there's some people that aren't, but for the most part, it's overwhelmingly supportive and positive, and that's really cool. So thank you guys for your sweet comments. It made me feel really good, so I appreciate that. So yeah, that's it for days 4 through 7 of Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot. I'll be back sometime soon to talk about the next couple prompts, and I hope you'll join me for that. Have a great rest of your Sunday night or whatever time it is where you're at, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.